Good morning and welcome to this meeting of the Licensing Subcommittee. I am Alice Albury from Democratic Services. The subcommittee today is made up of councillors Andrew Bolton, Jackie Davies and Andrew Sillett. The first item of business is the appointment of a chair for the meeting. May I ask subcommittee members to nominate a chair for the meeting?
I'll nominate Councillor Bolton.
Thank you. And I would like to second. Thank you.
Great, that is agreed. Councillor Bolton is in the chair. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Alice and colleagues, and good morning to everybody. Thank you. Just a little bit of housekeeping to start with before we get on to the application itself as such. To let you know that this meeting is being broadcast live and recorded and will be made available on the Council's YouTube channel. The agenda is available on the Council's website by following links to your council and decision-making, consultations and surveys, and then meeting agendas and minutes. The quorum for the meeting is 3 members, it's 3 councillors, and all the councillors need to be present at all times. If any subcommittee member or the legal advisor lose connection, it calls to allow them to rejoin as soon as possible. To reduce feedback, could everyone mute their microphone while not speaking, please? After the subcommittee has heard the submission, I'll ask if members have any questions on the submission. Members can also indicate that they wish to speak by using the chat function, but please do not use the chat function to ask questions of officers or members. And remember that all meeting participants on the video call will be able to see what has been entered in the chat. Please also keep mobile phones in silent mode or switched off during the meeting. So as you heard, I'm Councillor Andrew Bolton, and I'll now introduce the other participants in this morning's meeting. We have Councillor Jackie Davies. Good morning.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning. We have Councillor Andrew Sillett. Hello, Andrew.
Good morning, everybody.
We have Guy Bishop, the legal advisor.
Morning, everybody.
We have Marcella Basso, the licensing officer.
Good morning, everyone.
We have the applicant, Juliana Alcantara. Hello. We have Mr. Rodrigo Sarzeda, who is the designated premises supervisor. Morning to you. We have Mr. Manuel Rocha, the agent, and we have 2 other persons in the meeting. That's Patrick Davies and Sarah Gaston. So good morning to you. And we also, of course, as you've seen, have a member of Democratic Services in attendance, who is Alice, and you've just seen her. So declarations of interest. Does any member of the subcommittee, that's the 3 councillors, do any of us have any pecuniary interest, non-registrable interest or other registrable interest to declare in relation to the application today? And I should say that I don't.
Nor do I.
No.
And I don't either.
No, thank you very much. We'll press on. Can we confirm, please, councillors, the minutes of the meeting held on the 24th of September as a correct record of what happened then? I think we can.
Yes, agreed.
Yes, the nods all around. So I'll sign those, please, Alice, at a later date. A bit more on something now. The parties have already been notified of the usual procedures for licensing hearings as set out on pages 3 to 5 of the agenda. Paragraph 57 on page 4 of the agenda pack deals with notification of the decision following the subcommittee's deliberations. This will firstly be confirmed by email later today, and full details and reasons will follow within 5 working days. Are there any objections to proceeding on the basis of those procedures? I don't have any. Okay, thank you very much. No objections there. So we move on to the hearing itself, and I know that Marcella will mention this, but I will anyway, as I'm on camera. It's the application concerning Esquina Brazil at 70 Richmond Road, Kingston upon Thames, KT2 5EH, and it's an application for a new premises license under the Licensing Act of 2003. So I'll now call on Marcella Basso, the licensing officer, to introduce the report on the application. Thanks, Marcella.
Thank you very much, Chair. This application for a new premises license relates to Esquina Brazil, 70 Richmond Road, Kingston upon Thames, KT2 5EH. The application was made on the 3rd of September 2024 by Manuel Rocha of Rocha Consultancy on behalf of Esquina Brazil Limited. The application seeks the grant of a new premises license to authorize the following licensable activities: the sale by retail of alcohol, on and off sales, Sunday to Thursday from 10 a.m. to 10:30 p.m., Friday and Saturday from 10 a.m. to 11:30 p.m., and the provision of late night refreshment, Fridays and Saturdays from 11 to 11:30 p.m. Relevant pages of the application form are attached at Annex 1 of the licensing report, and the proposed hours of operation are laid out in Annex 2. I confirm that the applicant has advertised the application by way of a public notice displayed at the premises and in a local newspaper. The application has also been made available on the Council's website for the full consultation period. I confirm that all responsible authorities received a copy of the application. Representations were received from the Metropolitan Police in relation to the Prevention of Crime and Disorder licensing objective, and from the Council's Environmental Health Noise Pollution Officer in relation to the Prevention of Public Nuisance licensing objective. Following mediation, the applicant has addressed the concerns by making amendments to their operating schedule. These amendments are reflected in the conditions shown in Annex 3 of the report. In light of these amendments, the concerns raised by the Metropolitan Police and the Council's Environmental Health Noise Pollution Officer have been satisfied and the representations withdrawn. No further representations were received from responsible authorities. In accordance with the Council's licensing policy, 414 addresses were consulted in writing and informed that an application had been received. 14 valid representations were received from other persons. The representations make reference to matters that relate to all 4 licensing objectives. A copy of the representations is attached at Annex 4, and I can confirm that copies of all representation were forwarded to the applicant and made available to the licensing subcommittee. A number of representations make reference to the need for a licensed premises. Members will be aware that in making their decision, the need or commercial demand cannot be taken into consideration, as referred to within paragraph 14.19 of the Secretary of State's guidance issued under Section 182 of the Licensing Act 2003. A map showing the location of the premises is attached at Annex 5, and some photographs of the premises and surrounding area are attached for your information at Annex 6. In considering this application, you are required to take into account the Secretary of State's guidance issued under Section 182 of the Licensing Act 2003, our licensing policy, and the licensing objectives. The Council's licensing policy was reviewed in July 2021, and it includes some guidelines on licensing and trading hours. These guideline hours are included within Annex 7. Members, you are asked to determine the application having regard to the representations received and any evidence heard at the hearing in line with the options set out in paragraph 15 of the licensing report. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Marcella. My councillors, do you have any questions for Marcella? I don't at this stage. No, I think shaking your head. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So we move on to the applicant's submission now, and I'll now call on the applicant to give a summary of the application. Paragraph 47 on page 3 of the agenda pack deals with the length of time an applicant can speak, and in this case they have up to 10 minutes to present their submission, and Alice will advise the applicants when they have 1 minute left and when their time is up. So it's over to Mr. Rocha, I think, as the agent, but of course we have Ms. Alcantara and Mr. Salzeda there as well, who are, of course, are very welcome to speak, but I guess it's over to Mr. Rocha first. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So, good morning, and everybody. So, Esquinas Brazil is a new cafe restaurant. It's not open yet, but we will hope to open soon. We apply for sale of alcohol Sunday to Thursday from 10 a.m. until 22:30, and Fridays and Saturdays from 10 a.m. until 23:30. Late night refreshment Fridays and Saturdays from 23 to 23:30. We think these are reasonable hours for this type of business. Consider we are not a pub, wine bar, or disco or nightclub. On the application, we propose measures to protect the 4 license objectives like CCTV, under 25 challenge, staff training, refusal book, signage, asking customers to respect the local residents when they leave the premises. And we also agree with some conditions with the police that are more or less the same as we propose, including the sale of alcohol with a meal only. I think this is a very important point. We also agree with the conditions proposed by Mr. Richard Odell, the EHO, that the consumption of food and drink in external areas is under the control of the license holder and should not take place after 22 hours. Also, as a business, we will not engage with irresponsible promotions. Our sale of alcohol will not be cheap because we don't believe this is kind of way to move on. And then all deliveries and litter collection will be done by approved companies and within the times approved by the council. Regarding the representations, we read the representations and we understand the neighbors' concerns. We are aware there is bars and locals business not far away from our business. They finish late. There's a disco, there's a nightclub, there's pubs, there's supermarkets, there's a petrol station who sell off license, 500 meters, half a mile. But they are different types of business. So I think everybody have the right to have a business and make the money they need to pay the bills and make a profit and enjoy life. This business before has been closed for a while. Before it was a delicatessen, and they closed for many reasons. One of them was a lot of issues with pests and spoilage and smell and other problems. So this new management has been working hard to make sure this is a place to eat and drink. Esquina Brazil and the management, they want to have a good relation with the local residents and authorities because they believe this is the only way to be successful. So if any local residents have any issues regarding our business, they can approach Mr. Juliano or Mr. Ricardo, the DPS, and we'll try to resolve the problem. In case of the off-license sales, we're thinking about only to home delivery. So occasionally, sometimes people can order some food and a bottle of wine or a beer, and this is going to be through the delivery or Uber. And so I think in a way it'll be better for us to have a premises license because we have rules, we have CCTVs, we have then some business I know they don't have a license for many reasons, but that does matter here. And people bring their own wine and that there is no control. So the places I know near Clapham, they have a couple of situations and this bring other problems. And I think it's not the way we want. And so for now is everything. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Rocha. Do your two colleagues wish to say anything? I think there's a little bit of time. Don't think so.
I think we're okay. We just emphasize the words of Manuel. We just want to make a nice and agreeable place for the neighbors and the community. We are, well, decent people. We want to not attract any sort of disorderly people into our premises as well. And as I say, we'll follow all the guidelines and always keep control of that as per the requirements.
Thank you very much. We move on to the council's question now, and I see Councillor Jackie Davis has her hand up.
Sorry, I was jumping the gun there, really. I think we have quite a few questions, really. Is the property actually built yet? I mean, are you going to build an extension? On the plans, I can't really match up the plans with what's there at the moment. So is the restaurant? Yeah. Sorry.
So there is no building work outside the facilities. So there is a large area of outside sitting area that exists already, and there is a basement that we are not using at the moment, and the only changes we do is internal. So the kitchen, refurbish the toilets and the sitting area and the counter, but there is no extra building work outside the one that exists at the moment.
Okay, I think I've misunderstood. So on the map, on the plan,
Yeah.
Where it says seating area outside, it's more than just those 8 tables. It's the whole area behind as well, isn't it? Is that right?
Yes. So there is 2 areas on the back and on the front that is part of the building, of the facilities. So we would like to, when the weather allowed, to have some tables outside.
So more tables outside than inside.
Yes, basically, if it's a good day, probably we can.
So there's not going to be any kind of covering, gazebos or umbrellas, or what are you planning to do?
Not at the moment. We don't know yet what we're going to do, but I'm not sure if what Ricardo would like to do, but at the moment, if it's something is an umbrellas, they need to be the ones need to be removed, because it cannot be nothing fixed now.
Okay, I've got more questions, but I'll let Councillor Sillett come in.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Roger. It seems to me that the residents who are worried, they're already suffering a lot from noise, and it obviously it's not from your business, but they're concerned that there's a late night place selling alcohol just on the end of their road. They're naturally concerned. It seems to me probably what they're mostly concerned about is this outside seating area, and they're worried that people might be, quite not enjoying themselves, getting loud, etc., and disturbing sleep. So you've got 8 tables where there's a little car park at the moment, isn't there, just off Richmond Road, Beast Road. There's going to be some tables seated there, and then at the back in the yard, there's a few more outside tables. What are you going to do to? I mean, obviously heard Mr. Rodrigo say that they're not attracting disorderly people. They want to only serve alcohol with food. What can Mr. Rodrigo say to perhaps reassure residents that this is not going to be disturbing people a bit more? The residents, that specifically outside seating area on the road, I think that when the Mr. Richard, the environmental officer, proposed the condition, I think he was thinking about that. So from our point of view, and we agree that all the tables and chairs will be removed, so there's no place for people. Imagine that somebody bought a beer in the petrol station or a couple of years, and they're sitting there, and they are not even our customers. So we don't want the place to be suitable for people. They are not our customers to sit. So this is why after 10 o'clock, we remove the tables and chairs, lock them, and there is no place for people to sit. And the second one is staff to monitoring and the management to monitor that outside area. And the third is signage that we're going to display around to ask people to remove, and only customers, that our customers will be able to use the facilities during the period of time until 10 o'clock at night. So after 10 o'clock at night is the problem with the noise. People sitting is not going to be an issue, because there is no tables and chairs outside. And that includes in the yard at the back?
Yes.
And what about at weekends? Is there later outside?
What we agree was Monday to Sunday, so until 10 o'clock.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor. Mr. Roger, I have a question. We will be hearing in a few minutes anyway from local residents who have their own questions. I'll probably put them a bit more eloquently. But I'm still not actually 100% clear about how many tables there'll be outside. The figure of 18 has been mentioned, but when I looked at the little plan provided, it seems to be just 8. So what's the proportion? How many inside and how many outside? If you could answer that first.
I think Mr. Rodrigo can answer that one better than. is doing the refurbishment.
Yeah, thank you.
Hi. We've been working out the space and the size of the tables that we got here. We roughly estimate around 8 tables on the inside, and probably on the outside, because of the space that we got, we probably like larger tables, but less tables, if you know what I mean. More of those style of like picnic tables, similar to that, which it's probably going to be about, I would say 6 to 8, possibly, because of the size. I don't think we could even fit any more of that. And then towards where there's like a space for a car here, probably another 3 maximum, I would say.
Thank you very much. So roughly, I mean, just doing a little bit of arithmetic in my head, you could have possibly space for what, 30 people sitting outside or more?
Thereabouts. You probably don't expect that many people outside there.
All right, thank you. Other questions that occur to me, they're all around things like noise and litter and smells, but some of the representations made, yeah, noise and litter, antisocial behavior, noise late at night, rubbish, dealing with the recycling of the broken bottles, recurring themes actually here, fears of antisocial behavior, late-ish at night, smoking and vaping. I presume people in that back courtyard will be smoking or vaping. Yeah, it's those kind of issues that are particularly, I think, making the residents unhappy. The smells from the kitchen. What about music, for example? Is there any idea that you would have music or even say the radio from the kitchen playing with open windows? And what measures are you thinking of putting in place in terms of soundproofing, for example? I've covered a range of issues there, but give the idea of the kind of issues that are worrying the residents. Thank you. You're on mute, Mr. Rocha.
With the music, of course, we like to have background music, and occasionally we'll have somebody play like a guitar or something like that. But it's not the space appropriated to have more than one person singing and playing guitar. Even if we have, of course, after a certain hour, we'll keep the doors and windows closed, unless for entrance, and signage will be displayed. And if necessary, if we feel there is something that we can add extra, we could always add what we call this sound limiter, and that could work well. This is regarding the music. Regarding the smoking area, of course, that is a problem for all restaurants and cafes. They have tables and chairs outside. So if we have a license until 10 o'clock at night outside, people can smoke, and the management will clean the facilities. But you know, it's an open space. That is a private space, part of the building. I think it'll be good for them to. I have more business in Kingston. They have tables and chairs outside, and people smoke. Of course, they need that place. Then it need to be cleaned regularly. But if we use until 10 o'clock at night, there is after 10, we shouldn't have more issues with the smoking and with the noise, apart from the people leaving the premises. But we could have a dispersal policy where people they leave the premises in small groups. But like I said, the outside area, it's not. I think we are in good luck. Maybe 2 or 3 months a year we could use that facility, because there's going to be rain, it's going to be cold, so it's not very attractive to people sit outside. And what I think the neighbors are concerned, I don't live far away the place, and we notice that where is more noise is the weekend, and is when people leaving the pubs and the nightclubs, where people can drink 10 pints without eating. where they get drunk and noisy. And of course, Kingston have a lot of universities, have a lot of young people. They want to enjoy their time free. So it's a lot of things for the councillors to think about and the business to make a place safe to eat and safe to the neighbors and the residents. But we'll do whatever the authorities feel that is appropriated. We follow the rules and engage with the community to make sure we have a good place and safe.
Thank you, Mr. Rocha. Now I see Patrick and Sarah have put their hands up. In fact, we'll be coming to you very soon anyway. Would you mind just sitting back for a minute or two, and we'll keep the meeting in the correct order, but you'll certainly be able to cover whatever points you wanted to make in a moment or two. Mr. Rocha, yeah, you mentioned the viability of the business. Well, you didn't use that word, but I think that's what you're hinting at. Now, it has been suggested by the residents that even though you've made the sort of concession to 2200 closing outside, that they might actually prefer that to be even earlier. What sort of response from your clients would that elicit? 7 or 8 o'clock, perhaps?
I think that Mr. Rodrigo can have a word of that. I think I'll let the councillors to decide what will be fair for us. Consider there is other business with tables and chairs outside until late, 21 hours, 20, 22, like the Mr. Richards proposed. But let Mr. Rodrigo say, Mr. Juliana say their opinion.
Yeah, would you mind, Rodrigo, Juliana, just the suggestion that you might want to think about closing a lot earlier outside than 10 o'clock as proposed here?
Again, we followed the advice from the advisor that got involved in the case for 10 o'clock. Ideally, for the business, we want to make use of the space as much as we can, but whatever is deemed the most reasonable balance between, the needs of the neighborhood and the needs of the business would probably be the most appropriate, really.
Thanks very much. I see Councillor Davies has her hand up again for another question.
Yeah, it's just a quick question. There are 2 floors above the premises. Are they occupied? Do people live there, or are they yours, or who are your nearest neighbours?
I think there's Rodrigo, I think there's somebody living above.
That I haven't seen anyone come in and out directly above. I've seen from the sides, but so far I haven't seen. I don't know them or haven't had any communication from anyone from above.
If you don't mind me adding, because I know the property quite well, there's 2 flats above, and 2 families live there, one with young children.
Thanks, Patrick.
As part of the same building.
Yeah, we'll certainly be coming to you, Patrick, in a moment or two. And Sarah, I see you have your hand up as well, but if you don't mind, we'll keep the meeting in its correct order, and in case we get a bit, I don't know, can you put your hand down again? You will certainly be called. Now, Councillor Davies, any more questions? Councillor Sillett? No, I think I'm done as well. Thank you very much, Mr. Rocha, and the applicants. So we'll move on to the next part of the meeting. We will be coming to the residents very shortly. It's about the responsible authorities, and as set out in the report, all responsible authorities received a copy of the application. Representations were received from the Metropolitan Police and from the Council's Environmental Health Noise Pollution Officer, which we've heard. In fact, following mediation, the applicant has addressed the concerns by making amendments to their operating schedule, and these are reflected in the conditions shown in Annex 3 of the report. In light of these amendments, the concerns raised by the police and by the Council's Environmental Health Officer have been satisfied, and their representations have been withdrawn. So now we come on to the section that is entitled here, Other Persons, and this is the residents we have with us today who've who've come to the meeting. As set out in the report, in accordance with the council's licensing policy, we heard this before as well, 414 addresses were consulted in writing and informed that an application had been received. 14 valid representations were received from other people. The representations make reference to matters that relate to all 4 licensing objectives, and copies of the representations are attached at Annex 4. So each of the other people, we have Patrick and Sarah, you each have 5 minutes to speak, please. And Alice, of course, will advise you when you have 1 minute left. And I have in my order of service here really is Patrick to speak first. So over to you, please, Patrick. And please do feel free to make any comments you want.
Thank you, Andrew. I've got a few words to say. So, dear members of the Licensing Committee, my name's Patrick Davies, and I'm a local resident. Thank you for the opportunity to share my concerns regarding this application. While I welcome the redevelopment of the site and wish the business every success, I strongly believe that further mitigations are needed to meet the licensing objectives, particularly regarding prevention of public nuisance and prevention of crime and disorder. My primary concern lies in the use of external spaces and the corresponding prevention of public nuisance through noise and odours. In particular, I'm concerned about the use of the external areas for cooking, for outdoor cooking, due to smoke and odours, and also the use of the external areas by customers or staff after 7 p.m. due to noise. As been noted earlier in the meeting, the external areas are very extensive and rather out of balance with the internal areas. And I believe it's worth noting that the plan in the application is rather misleading. The top area on the top left of the plan is also outside. It's not actually indicated on the plan as being outside, but that is, and that results in an imbalance of 18 tables versus 8 inside. So 18 outside, 8 inside. And as we've mentioned, the business is situated in a highly residential area, which is very sensitive. So that there's two residential flats directly above the shop in the same building and wrapped around by the courtyard in the plan. And also opposite, there's a large block of flats with over a dozen flats, as well as houses immediately adjacent. So external areas, if used late into the evening, pose a significant risk of noise disturbance and public nuisance. Therefore, I strongly urge that the committee consider that external areas, including that kind of external courtyard, be restricted from use after 7 p.m. I also urge that external areas shouldn't be used for playing of music or broadcasts at any time. And in my view, these additional measures regarding the external areas are critical for preventing a public nuisance. And I think it's worth noting that although I appreciate that planning and licensing are distinct processes, I believe it's important to note that the council's own planning officers shared this concern in a previous planning application for the site, reference 15-12204 FUL. The planning officer's decision notice clearly stated that the outside areas must not be used after 8 p.m. Monday to Saturday, or after 6 p.m. on Sundays or bank holidays, given the sensitivity of the location. And this condition was deemed essential by the planning officer to safeguard the amenities of occupiers of neighbouring properties in accordance with policy DM10. Now, moving on to other matters related to the prevention of public nuisance, there should be adequate measures to control smoke and odours from cooking, ensuring that all cooking appliances are conducted inside and with appropriate and quiet ventilation and odour filtration. Outdoor cooking, such as barbecue, should be fully prohibited at all times to prevent unfiltered smoke and odours being emitted from this commercial site, especially given the proximity of other residential properties. And finally, in terms of litter and refuse, regular cleanups of the area within 50 metres should be mandated to avoid an accumulation of litter, which has been a problem for similar outlets in the area recently, as the licensing team will be well aware. Additionally, refuse should only be disposed of during reasonable hours, and bins should be securely stored on site as defined in the plans on the application, and that will prevent issues with vermin and fly tipping, which again have been problematic in the area in the past. Moving on to crime and disorder, I also believe that the current measures proposed are insufficient to prevent potential issues such as violence and antisocial behaviour. That said, it is very promising that to hear that it has been agreed that alcohol should only be served to customers consuming a meal, and to prohibit happy hours to avoid the external areas becoming into a drinking zone. I'd also ask that off-premises consumption of alcohol should be discouraged through signage, and no drinks should be leaving the premises in open containers.
1 minute left.
So in conclusion, while I support this business opening and becoming part of our community, I believe these additional measures would strike a fair balance between allowing the business to succeed and also protecting the rights of nearby residents and also other businesses. And I believe additional mitigations, in particular prohibition of the use of external areas for outdoor cooking or after 7 p.m. for any purpose, are essential to address the potential risks of public nuisance and crime and disorder. And I hope the committee will consider these suggestions carefully as conditions of the licence should it be awarded.
Thank you very much, Mr. Davis. Councillors, do you have any questions for him? Andrew Sillett, please.
Actually, I think the questions will be directed more at Mr. Rocha and Mr. Rodrigo from matters that Mr. Davis has raised. I don't know if that is permitted at this time. Perhaps I'll leave those questions to later.
I think we will get another chance, and there's no harm at all in clarifying a couple of matters. Thank you. And Councillor Davis, I assume there's no relation between. No, good. Phew. You're fine. I have no questions for you, Patrick. Thank you very much indeed for putting up your case. We move on to now Sarah Gaston, please. You, I think, also have 5 minutes, Sarah, and Alice of Democratic Services will let you know when your time is coming to a close. Thanks.
Thank you very much. And thank you so much for allowing me to contribute to this meeting. It's been quite a worrying time, certainly for myself and my family in East Road. And I wholeheartedly agree with Patrick Davis's points. Actually, we've lived in the Kingston, in that road for 20 plus years and seen many businesses come and go. And whilst we wouldn't want to curtail anyone's right to earn a living, my query is that for me, I really don't want that to come at the expense of others. I am concerned about refuse being left littered around. I am also concerned about collection of bottles and recycling, because that can be very noisy and disturbing. We all live in, it's a very residential area, and we all live in, most of our houses are Victorian. There's virtually no soundproofing. We have single glazed windows. It's very noisy anyway. As I've mentioned before in my application, I have a child with special needs. He needs to sleep. Otherwise, he will really suffer. He is diagnosed, so he is accepted that he has special needs. He sleeps out the front. He's 9 years old. He needs to go to bed at 7:45. And my worry is the noise will particularly disturb him. He has another brother that he sleeps with, so 2 of them are going to get quite badly disturbed. And my main concern is the outside area. I know there was mention of some live music. I primarily come from a live music background, and I know how noisy that can be. And I have a query about whether there'll be any need for amplified music outside, because that would again be very disturbing to me and my family. I'm also concerned about the fact there will be extra cars in the vicinity, people driving. We already have a lot of extra cars that arrive due to the Brazilian supplier next door to this premises. So we know there's going to be quite a lot of people. It may become a destination for like-minded people. And I really worry. I mean, I walk home late at night. I now work in a medical setting, so I do shift work. And I don't like walking past that at the best of times. It's dark around there. And as we know, darkness is often an area for antisocial behaviour to happen. And CCTV is fantastic. And thank you so much for saying that you will have that on board. But I don't want to have pictures of what might happen after the fact when something has already happened to me. And I am very concerned about that. There's often a lot of noise on our street. And I worry for my children. I worry for the amount of refuse that will be left, the rats. I think as Patrick mentioned, we've had that before. It's been a very rundown area at that end. I mean, we've got a school at the end of our road. That's why our road attracts the children. And we'd like to, ideally, I want you to bear that in mind. I mean, for me, 7 o'clock would be a cut-off. I'm very concerned about the noise. and the antisocial behaviour. And I know whilst you can put everything in place, from what I've seen from my own experience working in live music and events, you can't control everything. And that's my worry. You can, I'm not against this type of activity, but not in such a residential area. And I am extremely worried that it's going to detrimentally affect myself and my children. And I obviously, for me, that's really not a great situation. That's my point. Hopefully I put that across well, but my concern primarily is the outside area with noise and chatter and singing and laughter and music. Music is a big concern to myself. So as I say, coming from that background, I know what it's like, and I know what it's like to be around that, and it's not very nice. So thank you for letting me put my case forward.
Thank you for attending today, sir. Slight aside, actually, you mentioned in your written, and you alluded to it now, the dim street lighting. So we can certainly have a word with your local ward councillors there. I think it's Canbury Gardens ward, and mention that to see if there's anything that can be done about the dim street lighting.
That would be fantastic, because there's also a big alleyway. But I know there are gates that come up, but there's a very dark, and they have done a lot of work in this area because it was really very unsavoury. But there is a dark area behind, and in social planning, darkness does create this kind of antisocial behaviour.
Right, thank you. Well, we can have a word, not promising anything, but we'll certainly make them aware of it if they're not already. But thank you for that. Now, councillors, do you have any questions for Sarah Gaston? No. Yes, you do.
I'm not sure if you're allowed to answer this one. Would you be able to, from your house, would you be able to hear noise in the outside area of the restaurant? I'm not talking about people leaving and making noise down the street, but would you be close?
Yes, I would. We're very close. We're less than halfway down on the same side, so we would be able to hear.
Thank you.
Thank you. And of course, you put your case very well, Sarah. Just to, is it the case that if they weren't allowed to operate outside beyond 7 p.m, you would be far happier, obviously? But so it's not the question of the business itself. It's the lateness of the hour, as it might affect your family.
It's absolutely the lateness of the hour, but it's also the worry of attracting people and the drinks and the antisocial behaviour around that. Because I myself walk home, I work shifts, I walk home at 11 at night, and it's already a very noisy, unsettling environment.
Thank you. I think Guy, the legal advisor, is had his hand up. Oh, you're on mute, sir, Guy.
I'm just unmuting myself. Yeah, just very quickly, I did check the planning permission, and it does talk about a condition that it shouldn't be operating after 8 p.m. Monday to Saturday, and after 6 p.m. on Sundays and bank holidays. But obviously this is a licensing subcommittee. It's not a planning authority decision that's being made here. And whilst there will be a condition on the planning that has to be complied with, operational decisions related to hours, for example, are things that are separate to whatever planning permission is in force. Planning permission must be complied with, so enforcement could arise from non-compliance with that. But obviously you're looking at this from the point of view of the licensing objectives, making a decision that's proportionate, appropriate, and obviously complying with the legislation, its regulations and case law. So I just thought I'd put that in the mix so you're aware for purposes of deliberations in due course.
Yeah, thank you, Guy. Yes, that's very helpful. Thanks for that. So we now move on. I don't think there are any more questions. So we move on to the closing statements. And in fact, Patrick and Sarah, although they've just spoken, are invited now to make closing statements. So if they want to perhaps sum up, I know you've done it quite fully anyway, but you're very welcome to take a couple of minutes to sum up the main points of your point of view. Thanks. Let's say Patrick first.
Thank you. I think I just reiterate that in conclusion, I really support this business opening and becoming part of our community. I do believe that some additional mitigations are required to strike a fair balance between allowing the business to succeed and protecting the rights of nearby residents and businesses. And I just reiterate, because I think the plans were slightly misleading, that the outdoor space is really quite out of balance with the indoor space. So in particular, very keen to ensure that there are kind of mitigations and in place to ensure that the external areas are not used for outdoor cooking or used after 7 p.m. for any purpose. And ideally, no playing of music in the outdoor space at any time. But I think those mitigations would strike a fair balance between allowing the business to succeed, primarily as a cafe and a restaurant, as they intend, and just to make sure that there's no potential risks of public nuisance or crime and disorder. And I hope the committee will consider these suggestions carefully as conditions of the license if it's awarded.
Thank you very much. And Sarah, I know we've just heard from you, but would you like to say anything else?
Yes, I just want to say, obviously, I absolutely support the business, but my main concern is the amount of noise coming from the outside and the nuisance it may cause. That's my primary concern. So obviously, from 7 p.m, I think from my point of view, would be a good compromise. So thank you very much for letting me contribute.
Thank you very much. And so now we go on to the applicants. Mr. Rocha, would you like to sum up your case, please? Oh, you're on mute again, I think.
Thank you for Mr. Patrick and Ms. Sarah too for your presentation. It's very important for us and for the business to know the neighbors, know the area, and the business want to work with the community. There is no ideas or plans to have, we never plan to cook outside or have any music outside. If anything, will be inside the facilities. In terms of the opening and the use of tables and chairs outside regarding the hours, I leave this for the consideration of the subcommittee. We agree with Mr. Richard from the Environmental Health Officer. He knows the problems in the area regarding noise nuisance, and if he recommend 10 o'clock, I think he'll be fair, but it's up to the subcommittee. I understand their concerns, but like we said, it'll be nice if we have all year good weather, but that does not happen. And this maybe we have 2 or 3 months a year. But yes, we have an open door to any problems, any issues the neighbors have. They can approach Mr. Juliano, Mr. Ricardo, and expose, and we'll try everything we can to resolve. We want to have a good relation with the neighbors, and it's at the moment the business have a difficult time for many reasons. And we see a lot of business closing down in Kingston and in Richmond too, in the high street, and that is not nice. And when the business start to close, other runs close too, and more people buy from internet, Amazon, whatever, and they don't leave home and they don't use the facilities, and the place start to look a desert, and it's going to be very bad. I travel all England, and I can see some village, the high streets, 50% of the shops are closed, and that is really bad. And that is bring a lot of antisocial behavior. So I leave in your hands to the councillors. Do what you think is the best. It's up to you to think what is the best hour for us to close outside. Thank you very much for the opportunity.
Thank you very much, Mr. Rocha. Ms. Alcantara, Mr. Salzeda, would you like to say anything? There's still a bit of time.
No, again, we just want to reiterate everything that was said by Manuel. Again, we want to work with the community. We've been always working with the regulations. Everything that the authorities recommended is pretty much what we've been trying to work towards too. They have the experience on the area, and I believe they worked with a number of businesses to define the limits that they have suggested to us, and that's what we went for. Again, we also have the experience from Manuel, who has done a number of licenses to a number of businesses. And considering the location, the history of the location here, which was extremely run down, there was clearly problems with rats and vermin around, and we are clearly clearing this up. We are trying to upscale the up street here and do something nice for the community and the area. And I think it's important to us to make the best of the facilities we have to provide a decent service to our customers. I believe as I said, the requested hours were quite reasonable considering what has been suggested by the authorities, and it's understanding that we want to take into consideration the neighbors, but as well we want to run a business that is profitable, and we don't want to end up being just another closed down shop down the street, which this seems to have been for quite a while as well.
Thank you very much. Councillor Sillett, you said you might have a question of clarification. Has that been cleared up in the...
Just for clarity, please. May I ask Mr. Rocha or Mr. Rodrigo? There's going to be no outdoor cooking in the backyard, like barbecues with smoke going up. What about amplified music in the backyard? No. And you've spoken about how you're doing up a rundown premises and cleaning it up, and I take on Mr. Rocha's point about bringing a bit of life to the area, and that you want it to be a place where your neighbours will come in and eat. You want to have good relationships with them. From a commercial point of view, how problematic would it be to have more restricted outdoor seating just to mitigate any noise? I mean, I have to confess I'm a little confused about the planning permission that Mr. Davis alluded to and Guy mentioned, that there should be, it will be in breach of planning if you had outdoor seating after 8 p.m. That was my hearing. So if, for example, it was restricted to 8 p.m, is that a game changer for you in terms of outdoor seating? I'm sorry, it's a bit of a rambling question.
No, thank you, Andrew. That was a question for Mr. Rocha, I think, who might want to pass this point.
I would like Mr. Rodrigo talk about that. To say his opinion about see if we have any limits for after 8 o'clock.
As I said, it would definitely limit our capacity for businesses, but we could compromise on limiting the seating area as opposed to having a short operation time on the outside.
I wonder if there's any distinction as well, and I'm not sure who to ask this question to, between the outdoor area in front of the shop on the corner, which is more exposed to the street, and the outdoor seating in the yard, which seems to be surrounded by a brick wall and possibly with some sort of covering for rain on there. I'll leave that open as a question. It's hard for me to gauge if there should be a distinction made there. But
part of the challenge with the courtyard is it's closer to the residential properties, the houses, and it wraps around the kind of the flats that are above the shop. There's two.
Thank you, Mr. Davis. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Okay, that's me. That's my questions.
Maybe that's for deliberations. And obviously you've got through to the summing up, which all parties have now done. So
yes, indeed, we've got that. Thank you very much for that. What happens now is that the subcommittee will withdraw to make its decision. And as we said before, the decision will be confirmed to all parties by email by the end of today, I think. And the full decision notice with reasons will be sent to everyone within 5 working days. So thank you all very much indeed for attending. And would members of the subcommittee please now withdraw to the other chat room? I think we'll go there straight away and continue our deliberations. But thank you everybody for coming. Good morning to you. Thanks.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Bye. Thanks.